All right. Everybody's having a good evening. Took an extra minute for that to come back from its usual startup. So hopefully everything is working okay. I rely on you folks to tell me if something isn't working. So just getting some practice in. I didn't really have time to pull anything together, let alone plan anything too in depth for this evening's stream. I'm just here to work on some sketches. I'll talk about my process a bit. I posted a fun project that just hit the ocean, as it were. I did the logos that were put on the side of the MV Nantucket and the MV Governor vessels for the Steamship Authority, and they'll be making the commutes back and forth to the islands all summer on their anniversaries. And I designed the logos, and you can see them on the boats, and they made buttons that you can get for free in the terminals, all kinds of stuff. So another New England staple added to my list with as far as art benchmarks go. The Tick, Ninja Turtles, Wally the Green Monster, just now the Steamship Authority. So just getting those New England credits to my artistic uh, life. I've got Hasbro on there too. Did some GI Joe stuff. So hitting those New England staples. Hey, Andrew. Hey, Brian. Yeah, I'm doing a little show in Fall River this coming Sunday. I will be there. I believe it's from 10 to 4. The details are on the page that I shared. And I'm going to be doing sketches for charity. So, like a sketch like this that normally costs like $40 or so, as long as the line's not too long, you could get for just donating to the cause. So, it's in person only. I've had people ask me if I would ship them stuff already, and I'm sorry, I will not be shipping for donation sketches. Um, I appreciate it. The Greater Boston Food Bank, if you ever want to look them up on the charity raters, they have an excellent rating no matter what website you go to. And I collect for them at conventions from time to time. And this time I just wanted to go in and do some sketches for people and call it a day. I didn't want to have to deal with doing a big setup or anything, so I'll just have a little sign that's has a little brief info about the charity and stuff on it. I'll have that at my table. But they have a great rating, and if you ever wanted to help fight hunger in the Boston area, they're one of the best ways to do it is to support them. So I just need to get some practice in. So I'm back drawing some other characters. I like Wolverine. I did a Tick drawing. I did one just the other day while I was watching the Bruins game. Did this what I call this toss hatching. It's a curvature of the crosshatch where it gets kind of an engraver's finish where I'll use a bigger pen just so you can see it, rather than your typical crosshatch that is just your regular screen, and you're going perpendicular like this. What I do is I come at an angle like this, and then I come back and cross like that. And it just because you're doing these same motions, there's like a beat to it almost, and it has just a nice feel to it. That's the type of hatching that I do. Any sketching today. I was actually on the boat, um, giving out some buttons, some of those buttons that have the logo on them. So I was on the water today for most of my workday. I've always been an X-Men fan, actually. I read X-Men going back to, when I was a kid. I actually had a subscription directly from Marvel. They'd mail it with like a really flimsy bag and board, and it would always get a little bent. Um, I was actually working on my organizing some of my collection this past weekend, and I actually found some of the old backing boards that my subscription came from. I had a subscription to Uncanny X-Men and Wolverine at one time. So, because where I lived, comic stores were not as easy to come by, so we had to mail away for comics. Hey, Jonathan, good to see you, man. Are you gonna come to the Fall River show? It's not too far from you. 3 days drive, I think. I think you could do an overnight. I pretty much always draw Wolverine with the brown costume. I don't know if everybody has a preference, but I always liked that one. I like the yellow one just fine, but I don't know. When I draw him, I like to draw the brown costume. Hey, all right. What's the worst that happens? You find some comics that you like. It's terrible. It would be a terrible burden to find comics that you'd want to read. Although I don't, they said there were a fair number of comic vendors last time. I asked the promoter, so I'll be interested to see if I could find me a nice dollar bin or $2 bin in today's world. We all remember the 50-cent bins or the quarter bins from the olden days. Jonathan says dollar bins would be nice so long as it's not modern stuff. I actually enjoyed that when we were digging in the bins. I found that one random issue of Moon Knight that was like giant size. I actually thought it was quite good. I was surprised how much I really enjoyed that. I didn't know everything that was going on, but there was enough there, enough meat on the bone for me to catch up, as it were. And hey, not that too many people here are hockey fans, but the Bruins survived to fight another day. So hockey fans in Boston rejoice. I can understand that. Yeah, Jonathan says there's modern stuff isn't always for him, and there's good stuff here and there. Um, yeah, like the new Transformers books, man, and shockingly, the GI Joe books. I read the Free Comic Day Conan. I read the Free Comic Book Day Flash Gordon. I still haven't read that Johnny Quest I picked up. I have been reading some old books. I just was when I was organizing, I pulled out the John Byrne run of Submariner. I hadn't looked at him in years, and it's kind of that mid-period Byrne that people tend to be hypercritical of. And I was looking at how he constructed pages, and I've got an issue sitting here. Yeah, I read this the other day, and just the construction of the pages. First off, he's penciling, inking, and lettering this thing, and writing. But I just thought the pages were just beautifully constructed. Great movement, good sense of place, solid figure work. I mean, yeah, just nailing that. The Punisher shows up. Yeah, I was just really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed reading it. Andrew says, never seen me draw Wolverine before. I think I've drawn him once on the stream before. I just happen to like the X-Men, and I figured, people with the trailer, they might be interested to see another Wolverine. I'm just having fun tonight. I had a very busy day, so just trying to have a little fun. I mean, there's just so many great versions out there. I have a hard time looking at mine and being like, "Oh yeah, that's Logan." Desiree likes the new serious take on Space Ghost. I'll have to check it out. Michael Golden was always influential to me on the way I looked at drawing Wolverine, because he was one of the few guys that drew a short, stocky Wolverine. There's a story in a holiday special that he did that's just dynamite. A full, sequential panel Wolverine story. I think it's like 6 or 7 pages. People my age all like Wolverine for the most part. I mean, we grew up when Fatal Attractions was happening. When he got his bone claws, which was like, you know, mind blowing to a young me reading the stuff at the time. Yeah, I always thought he was stocky. I always thought he was short, and I thought Byrne drew a good height Wolverine. I like the John Buscema one. There's a lot of great takes. I mean, obviously Adam Kubert really defined the character for my generation of readers, and Mark Silvestri, of course. Um, Desiree says, still got to watch X-Men 97. Let me know how it is. As a person without Disney Plus, I'm very curious. I have the DVDs of all the old the 90s cartoon. I bought those as they were coming out. I actually bought them at New England Comics, I think. Or at least some of them. Maybe the first couple I bought there, and then maybe it was Newberry Comics where I bought the other ones. Andrew says he's 5'5". I see Wolverine being the same height. About, yeah, I would say, yeah, somewhere right in there. He's not super tall. He's not gonna, he's supposed to kind of be written off by, like, the Sabretooths of the world the first time that they fight or whatever. He's supposed to be like, oh, little runt. Think you're gonna beat me? And then he just takes an unmitigated level of just punishment. Like, generally how he beat a lot of this. He was never the best fighter. He just could take all of it was like the whole, he was immortal and invincible. And that was why when they gave him the bone claws, it was such a shakeup, because we didn't know, like, how's he gonna persevere? How's he gonna continue being a superhero? You know? If we get done with this, who should we draw after this? I don't know. I know Venom's popular. I usually get asked to draw him whenever I give, like, these open calls. The one character I'm hoping to avoid drawing is one that I usually have to draw on Free Comic Book Day. I've definitely talked about on the stream before, is my horrendous interpretation of Sonic the Hedgehog. Desiree, for you, I'll draw Sonic. Hey, Don, that's great. Psyched. Yeah, that's awesome. I can hear more about your new comic book. All the behind the scenes details. Excellent. I look forward to it. A Tick Sonic team up, my God. I wonder, a guy that could pull that off actually is someone we both know. I actually think Dave Garcia could pull that off because he can do that style so well because he did those Archie TMNT comics. I think he could nail that crossover if they honestly wanted to do it. I'm sure they'd give it to, some young rapscallion artist, but if you wanted to get one of the tried and true Tick artists and somebody who I think could really do a good job with the Sonic property too, would probably be Dave. I think he's a very talented, underrated guy. I've tried to get a commission out of him a couple of times, but he's always busy. So it's good to hear. So maybe he's too busy to do something like that. Brian says he was lucky enough to get a Paul the Samurai sketch from Dave. You were lucky, man. I even bugged it. I went over to his table and I was hoping to get a Paul, either a Paul or I don't know if Dave's ever drawn Caped Cod. I don't know if I could convince him to draw a character he didn't work on. Maybe he did with the later Tick stuff that he did, the Days of Drama. Maybe I could get him to draw a Caped Cod. See, there would be a great way for me to find a way to waste more money is to have a giant sketchbook of different artists drawing Cape Cod. That would be like the least valuable sketchbook ever done. Like I'd get a Jim Lee Caped Cod or an Alex Ross Caped Cod. Everyone would look at it and be like, this guy is just out of his mind, out of his gourd. But then again, I do see people who walk around with sketchbooks of their favorite characters all the time, and they're not ones that I would pick, so maybe it wouldn't be the craziest one. I generally like to have my characters doing something in a sketch. That's why I very rarely do just pinup style drawings. I had to learn how to do them with the Tick because I was, Bob and the people at the booth would be like, just draw them, just standing there, just don't spend too much time on them, just draw them real fast. So it took me. That was one that I had to by necessity, learn how to do. All right, I gotta grab a pencil because like these claws up here I got to work on just a little bit. Oh, and I do want to do some more, just like damage to whatever this is he's chopping away at. Nope, no San Diego for NEC this year. And hey, I'll keep applying. So see if I can at some point get an artist alley table. That would be the way I'd like to get back out there. But who knows? I got to keep making comics and applying. That's another one of those things that is part of the job that people may not think about, is just doing all the applications for the different shows. Sometimes they reach out to me, but it's usually me having to fill out or reach, at least at the very least, speaking with them and emailing them to be like, hey, would you have a spot for me? I'm lucky that a lot of the times, especially with like Not the Giant shows, they'll hook me up with at least just a table space. And I actually mentioned it on more than one occasion that if a show ever wanted to cover my expenses, I would draw for free. That would be something you could advertise for your show or for your VIPs or whatever they wanted to do. But if they covered like, not just like, the table in a hotel, but they'd have to cover my food too. It'd be a little more expensive, but it would be a way to add something cool that other shows maybe don't have. I've offered that to a few places. Even at local ones, or if it was just like cover my gas, my parking, that kind of stuff. And I'll draw for free the whole time. Desiree says no NEC equals no hugs from Bob. No. I mean, you could come out east. You could come out east at some point. You could see the NEC archives in the basement of Brockton. If you want to see like cases of man-eating cow #4. Yeah, I'm sure they'd give you the grand tour. There is a pretty good place in Brockton now. That's a Vietnamese place. If you like a good banh mi sandwich, so at least it'd be something good to eat. You could get the rare and elusive George Suarez interview. The publisher of New England Comics. Bring this line back up. It gets caught there, and it actually gets clipped there. So. When I'm in my fully practiced, like when I have like my game on for these sorts of sketches, I can usually pump them out pretty quick, but I'm a little out of sorts just with my current workload. I was hoping to get at least a 40-minute lunch to pump one out, but I just didn't have time. I ended up eating on the boat, so I really had no time to do any sketching of any kind whatsoever. The idea of this little story is that he just like chopped his way through part of one sentinel, and then there's another sentinel here that kind of like sneaking up on him. Darken this in. This will get blacked out. You'll have the smoke come up this way. This way. This is my Kiritaki brush pen. It is a wonderful sable brush, just like any inker like Joe Sinnott would use, and it is on this pen. And the beauty of it is you can refill the ink cartridges right here with just a syringe. You can put any kind of ink you want. This is my favorite ink. It's called Black Star. It's a matte waterproof India ink from Dr. Phil Martins, and finding this tool was a revelation. I had been using an ink brush for many years, going back and forth to the inkwell hundreds of times, even on like a single page sometimes, and it just saves hours of work, and I can just go in and, make little tiny lines. It's just like inking with a brush. You can see how sharp it is. These ones are not cheap, but they do offer a synthetic one that if you wanted to just try out the tool, that works pretty well. I think it's only like, the synthetic one I think is only like 20 or 30 bucks. And that was actually what I used first, just to see if I liked it. And I just absolutely loved it. So I bought the fancier one, and it has been wonderful. I've just had to replace the brush tip every now and again. They sell replacement ones of those. They're not that expensive. And it's just another way to use ink, which is like one of the cheapest mediums out there to use. It's a lot of fun. I would highly recommend one. This is just another one that is older that I've really beaten up over the years. And I just use it to fill in the darker areas so that I can preserve the other brush for more fine detail work. This is me just putting some ink on the paper that I'll just then go in and whoosh around. There we go. And back here, I'm just going to do a silhouette of this. So what I can do is go in and just grab these little things on the sides of their heads, and it comes down like that, and then there's like a little thingy like that. Yeah, I'm happy to introduce tools to people because it really changed my work for the better. It not only saved me time, but it made it easier for me to focus because I could just like stay doing one thing at a time. I didn't have to like, split my efforts amongst different things. I think I grabbed ink wash, unfortunately. This means I'll have to do a couple layers of ink there. Not a big deal. Make sure there's no ink wash on my hand. Just get my regular eraser. Go back in and clean up some of this pencil. Clean that up. Stupid pop-up. Windows is like, would you like to update right now? I'm like, please don't. Please do not update in the middle of my live stream on Wednesday. Told you to update over the weekend. I even said, please update over the weekend. Do not update during the stream on Wednesday. All right, now I think there's something missing here. I think we need to have more smoke, like coming from behind like this. That way we can black that out. And then this can be in front of that, and then we can get some cool shapes. If we black that out, black that out. Maybe we can even go like, give us like a piece that cuts through. We can add different whiteout bits as we're going through. You know how I love to add that at the end. And some other just debris, texture. We definitely need some more lines over here. Some more stuff coming off the claws. Yes, ripping the guts out of this thing. Hey, Michael, how are you? Good to see you. Thank you. One thing about Logan that you may notice on Undersea Heroes is he actually has hairy arms. He was like the only character that had body hair. I think we need to black out a little bit behind that claw so that it pops more, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I just need it to read. I don't need it to draw every hair. Like, you can just draw the ones that give you enough so that it reads as a texture. All right. Let's fill in our sentinel here. And who knows, if the show's slow, I could draw something just like this for just, donating $20 to the Greater Boston Food Bank this weekend. If it's busy, I'll probably have to do like quicker busts and stuff, but if we're just hanging out, I'll just keep drawing. I think everybody in the chat can tell when I get carried away with a drawing because I just keep adding stuff to it, or I'll add other characters, or I'll think of some idea that I think would be cool, and I'll just start noodling away. Michael says he just finished page 1 of his next comic. Hey, round of applause. Hey. Said he abandoned a superpowers one, and this is a more grounded story. Superpowers can be tough to draw and make them believable, I see it all the time where characters look static, or they aren't leaning into things, or there's no weight to the figure, and it's tough. It's tough to show that hyper superhuman movement and have it look both believable and spectacular. Someone who does that wonderfully subtly is Clayton Henry. If you're not familiar with his work, he's been doing a lot of stuff for DC, but he did a bunch for Marvel in the early 2000s. He did an excellent Alpha Flight series back then. He also did some of like the New Mutant stuff where they did like the Hellions got their own book. He was all over the place with those books. And he's done some Uncanny X-Men and things like that. But he's drawn the Flash for a while, and he's just really excellent at the, fluidity of figure that like a Jim Aparo was so good at. Where they're doing these spectacular feats, and it's just absolutely believable, and yet something you've never seen a human being do before. It's pretty cool. Ink bottle slipping on my drawing board. Don't want that spilling. Oop, I'm a little overboard there. I think I'm actually going to leave that spot there. I don't want there to be an unnecessary thing there, but I think it would pop more if I did. You can always white it out. Michael gave us some good info on a Richard Pace video. I'm just going to show off the comment here. It's a little long for me to read, but I guess he was showing off Richard Pace, who's a terrific artist who drew this month's issue of Savage Sword of Conan for the Conan fans in the audience, which I liked it much more than the first issue. Much, much more. I like Patch's Solomon Kane backup. I just thought it was an excellent issue. So. I'm barely touching the paper. I'm using a dry brush technique, which I really enjoy. It's a good way to just add some funky texture. I thought about using the fingerprint technique that you guys have seen before, but I decided to go with the dry brush. Go back in and fill in some of the true black spots. Joe Rivolo says, wow, amazing work. Thanks, Joe. I did, yeah. There's a Solomon Kane backup story in the current Savage Sword of Conan, and it's been quite good. I'd say it's been quite good. Patch Zurcher is doing the artwork. I don't know if he's writing it too, but it was it's on part 2. So if you pick up the the first issue, it's continued in the second. I don't know how many issues he's going to be in. So if you're a Kane fan, it's a nice moody story. Get our white here. It's a whiteout pen, which I like more than bleed proof white. This is just a Pentel whiteout pen in my AAA membership card. I do need to white out just that little edge. That still hasn't dried yet, so maybe I need to just grab a piece of scrap paper and just dab it. Pulled up a little bit of the paper. To give that a second, but I can add the just grab a little bit of glob there. Yeah, I think it pretty well does it for that one. So let's sign this sucker. Should we start another one? Or should we call it a night? What do you guys think? Thanks, Michael. Feels nice to finish a drawing in one go. Sonic next week. I don't know. It's horrendous. It just looks like just deranged. It's a deranged drawing. Kyler requests Colonel Feathers. I think we're going to hold off on Colonel Feathers today. I will draw one for you, and I will have it for you the next time I see you. I will draw you. I would be delighted to draw you a Colonel Feathers. All right. But, hey, not bad. I think the face came out pretty well. Shoulder's a little skewed. I probably got to bring in some more. I got to bring some more shadow down. Just to anchor it a little bit more. Yeah, that's better. There we go. That's a little better. It's not the best drawing in the world, but hey, we finished it in one sitting. I can see where my rustiness is showing. I have to thicken some lines. This is what happens. You don't get enough practice in. Yeah, I think the face came out all right, but some of the other parts need some work. But hey, that drawing could go for $1 on Sunday, so who knows? Exactly, yeah. And someone will be happy to pick it up, I hope, on Sunday. I don't remember actually when Venom first appeared, because it was just kind of just before I was like, what, he first appeared in like 87, 88, so it would have been like 3 or 4. It was kind of just before I was, reading comic books. But he was everywhere, of course, during my formative years of reading in mainstream comics. I don't draw him that often because I'm not a huge Spidey guy, to be honest. I can understand the importance of the character. I can understand the appeal, especially to a young person discovering comic books. That Peter Parker, that the nerdy kid who gets superpowers would be very relatable. That's a formula that Captain Marvel, Shazam, as he's known now, really set the precedence on. Yeah, if it was 84, then it was even, that was when I was born, so I was only reading that stuff, obviously, like after the fact, so. There's almost always a Venom request set, like even though I've never drawn, for Marvel, obviously. Um, Always just such a fan base, such a ravenous fan base for the character that there are people that collect just Venom and Venom sketches, and you know, never understood being that into the bad guy. I always thought Angel Medina drew a great symbiote character. He did a bunch of Venom miniseries over the years. I always liked his artwork. (1984). The last show I was at, Michelini, who was the David Michelini, who was the writer on those books, was there, and of course he had a line out the door, basically, people getting stuff signed. Got quite a few people in the stream tonight, so thank you for everybody for popping in and hanging out on this Wednesday evening on New Comic Book Day. It's one of those forgiving characters, though, because there's so many different versions and he's so bulky, and it's a symbiote. So as long as things look intentional, you can get away with fudging some anatomical things and some different stylized elements to drawing Venom. I think he just has to have a really big and scary silhouette. I think that's really the crux of that character. I did see one of those Venom movies. I saw it on television. It was not really my cup of tea, but I could see why people enjoy them. Trying to get some better line variants in this one. This is usually about the clip I can get these in. It's just because it's a forgiving character. Let's pull out some of those pencil lines. My buddy Joe St. Pierre has drawn probably as many Venoms as, if not more, than of ticks that I've drawn over the years. He's been drawing Venom since the 90s. He worked on those miniseries and all kinds of stuff that had Venom back in the 90s, back in his heyday, as it were. Just trying to add some line thickness so it pushes that hand forward a little bit. Just a little cartoonist trick. If we get these two done tonight, I'll feel like we got something accomplished before the weekend. It'll help me knock the rust off. I just didn't want to go into Sunday cold and somebody asks for a character. I'm like, is it from Undersea Hero? Then maybe I should not be drawing this if it's not. Michael says he ended up throwing away some of his erasers because the shavings dissolved some of his plastic rulers. Weird. Never seen that before. Yeah, I usually use a kneaded eraser. It's the most delicate, going over ink or whatever, but I think I left it in a different bag, so I don't have it tonight. I think I know where it is. I do need to get a new one. They are cheap enough. You get them for like $1. Mike says Boxy was the brand of eraser. I don't know if I know that one. Staedtler is usually like the run-of-the-mill at most Blix or whatever. Sometimes they have their own brand. I've had good luck with a lot of the store brand at Blix. Some of the stuff that they bought from Utrecht, they kept the formulas the same when those companies merged. Some of them they did not, but some things they did. So. Gotta kind of noodle in between some of those little lines I drew. We'll go back in with our white pen. Pull some of those back out. Try to fill that in. A little more ink. There's almost always a Spider-Man request too, so I'll try to do a quick Spider-Man drawing between now and Sunday. A little bit of extra ink in some of these areas where it's just a little faded. Not going to go too crazy with it. Because I could sit here all evening just filling back over and over and over and making sure that the black is like pure and flat, and I don't know. And I also kind of like the different types of different layers. But then again, I don't know, just for fun, let's do a dry brush like whip technique. And it is 9:30, so we're going to do this. We're going to try to finish this real quick, and we'll call it a night. Get our AAA membership card. I missed part. Darn it. Missed one of those. Fill that in. There we go. Alright, I think that's a wrap for tonight. I'm going to actually go like this so that I have room to write my name on this thing. Then dry it in quick. We'll go grab our Wolverine drawing. We got those two done tonight, and they're for Sunday's comic show in Fall River, Toy and Comic Palooza. Oh, thanks, Michael. It's a dynamic visual, so it's fun to mess with. But yeah, thanks everybody for coming out tonight, and I hope everyone has a lovely rest of their week and great weekend, and I will see you next week for episode 98. We're getting close to 100, so I'll see you around. Thanks again, everybody. Good night.